program that already began yesterday with regional meeting and a lot of friends. We're looking forward for this Congress. However, we cannot ignore that we are in a special time. COVID-19 impacted us personally, professionally, and nationally, and unfortunately globally, and it still does. The challenges are mounting, but as part of the silent heroes community, we, the clinical engineers, are doing tremendously good job in continuing safe and quality patient care all over the world. Because of the COVID and those challenges, we were forced to change our plan for the 4th International Congress from face-to-face, where we can hug you and have a very dynamic exchange of knowledge and experiences, to virtual Congress that is a new experience for most of us, certainly for us as organizers. And as we talk about organizers, I want to take a moment and just express appreciation to how well we work together through those challenges, just like I hope that every clinical engineering group around the world is able to do. We had to go from a physical venue to a virtual venue. We had to change the programs. We have to pre-record sessions. And I tell you, there is nobody else in the world that could have led that effort but Tom Judd. It is such a delightful person that knows how to push the train and move it further with nobody feeling the pressure. He just keeps doing it. And I'm delighted to be his colleagues, and more so to be a good friend. On behalf of the global community, Tom, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Now I take a moment because I can recognize the rest of the people with a little bit different effort that they contributed. First of all, I want to congratulate the two organizing parties that brought this session, this Congress together. IFMBE, Clinical Engineering Division, and the Global Clinical Engineering Alliance. We showed the world that we can work together for a purpose, education, networking, and professional development, and we are doing that fantastically good together. I would like to recognize also the platform that we are sharing today and the great job that Zoom events have been done and sharing with us this opportunity of a new beta platform that is working so well for all of us. I want to talk about the role that has been developed between us, the organizer, and AAMI. Robert, I can't tell you more how much I see a new and exciting Amy working with us. The trust level have been built since we met Brad in Rome in the previous Congress in 2019 throughout today, and I'm looking forward for a great future. And then I want to say a special thanks for the scientific committee, the hundreds of people that looked at the abstract, review, evaluate, and gave us the ranking of what is the best to be included in the presentation of this Congress. The scientific committee, I appreciate very much. Thank you. We have people behind the curtain that are doing 24/7 work that is amazing. I'll ask Tom to give us a better description of this effort, but I cannot complete my comments in this opening remark without saying something that I believe is to be the truth. When you have a heart problem, naturally you seek a cardiologist. When you have a skin rash, you look and say, where is the best dermatologist? When you need to get a drug prescription refill, you go to the pharmacist. But I'll ask you all now around the world, When you have a problem with medical device, will the Ministry of Health, will the hospital administrator go to the clinical engineer? I can guarantee to you that one more Congress like this, one more success like this, they will know where to go. They will know where the answer, they will know where the expertise. So together we can make it better. Tom?
Yadin, because you're my friend and because you're my brother, it's a real pleasure to be here in your family room today and share together. And I heard from you a little time of inspiration and a time of thanks. And I'm going to do something similar here quickly, but I'm going to get there a little bit different way. So I think we all recognize the past couple of years has been a time of suffering. You know, that suffering affects all of us, you know, families, relatives, friends of friends. And honestly, it's not over. So what do we do with that? And not minimize it. I mean, we take a time of silence, we mourn, we grieve, we move on, we try to help mom, you know, we do what we can, help husband. But I want to give you 3 quick stories from my own life that motivate me, because out of grief, out of suffering comes an opportunity to serve. And this is not about glorifying me. This is just things that have shaped me. So the first story is actually before I was born. There was another time in our country, in our world, where disease was rampant. And this was the late 40s and polio. And I had a 12-year-old sister who was perfectly healthy in 1948 and with contracted polio and died in 1 week. Out of my parents' grief, they decided to have one more kid. That's me, in 1950. So that environment in my home of love, really, but also of suffering, shaped my growing up. Let me move forward. Now, you know, Dr. David and I, a little bit lighter note here, are the new 50-year-olds. In other words, we're 70 something, but we're the new 50-year-olds, right? But half of my life ago, 35 years ago, 2 things happened that really shaped this next set of years where we got to this, to our 50s. One of them was my dad at age 70 had a stroke and 5 years later died of heart failure. So I'm talking about chronic disease. So today, chronic disease management can be managed medically through digital health tools. Not always, not perfectly, but increasingly so much so. So, you know, I'm so thankful. I'm not thankful for my dad's passing, but I'm thankful that today we can do better, Yadin. We, with our health technologies, can do better. But about that time, you know, in my mid-30s, another thing happened as I was working. I had started a clinical engineering department at a large community medical center, and they sent me to a mission hospital in Asuncion, Paraguay. And our colleague Pedro Galvin knows the story well there in Asuncion. But I found during that time, that thing that we do as clinical engineers, I'd been one for 5 or 6 years at that point. And, you know, I was looking for the thing that would drive maybe the next few years of my life. And going to Asuncion, going to that hospital, showed me that clinical engineers can make a difference in the health of families. It can make a difference in the health of communities. And I got so excited about what I learned there in 1985. And that's really shaped the next few years of my life. I mean, in 1988, I met Yadin as he was organizing clinical engineers in the US. A couple of years later, we started the American College of Clinical Engineering. In 1991, we started Frank Painter and many around the room. Toby Clark started with Yadin and I, started Dr. Jim Weir, who's on the line, I believe, started training health leaders from around the world. We started out training clinical engineers, then we expanded it to be other health leaders. And, you know, we've been involved with 90 countries through that particular mechanism. But anyway, back, so those 3 stories of my sister, of my dad, of my own experience traveling internationally. And by the way, it's about meeting those new friends at those other places and collaborating with them. We in my country don't have all the answers. It's about collaboration and partnership. So when I think of collaboration and partnership, let me first thank the sponsors. Heidi from Zoom is here. Lucas is in the room here from R0, Robert from Amy, Herman from Schiller, and Carla is back home right now. Hi, Carla, because of the storms on the West Coast from Helium and her team. So we're so thankful for those 5 sponsors. We're so thankful for our partners. Now, as clinical engineers, and we've had growing influence in the world, as Yadin has mentioned. And, you know, our biggest partner is the World Health Organization. And I'm going to say more about that. Adriana is going to come on here in a few moments and share with us. But besides WHO, the World Health Organization, as a key partner, another key partner is IFMBE. And I'm going to ask Dr. Shankar Krishnan, president of IFMBE, to say a few words in a moment. You know, we've had some other unique partners that we're very excited about. There's the Every Breath Counts coalition of 200 different NGOs and the World Bank and, you know, the Gates Foundation, the Clinton Foundation, PATH, many others that Adriana brought us to the table with earlier last year. And, you know, we've had a great partnership with them. Another one I'm going to mention quickly is the International Hospital Federation, a great partner. Yadin and I have been working with for about a year. Ron Lavater out of Geneva, who's the CEO of IHF. And Ron sends his greetings. And, you know, we've begun a fledgling partnership that we're going to build on in coming times. So, you know, we really do have a future, and it's because we do this as a team. We work together, we collaborate. We really have a future together, and I'm so excited about it. And we're waiting to see where things will go. Because yesterday we had a great day, you know, I would say a professional day, a specialty day, where we dove deep into the 6 regions, the 6 WHO defined regions of the world where we work with our collaborators and our board. And we're so excited to see where all that's going to go. I'd like to take a moment.
3 Wizards of Oz behind the curtains.
He asked me to remember something very important. First of all, Calroy Stabriano is over near London, tirelessly putting all of our pre-recordings together. And thank you, Yadin, not only for remembering hugs to Calroy, hugs to Luis Fernandez over in Hermosillo, Mexico, who is the other wizard, another wizard behind the curtain, who's tirelessly making this production work from the CED and GCEA side. Scott Richardson of Zoom is on the line here, and he's making things happen from the Zoom side. So a lot of words here from me, but let me just say, how's it turning out? Well, we have 2,000 registrants from 120 countries. We've actually exceeded our goal. And within our community, you know, we had 400 abstracts and 700 contributors to those, and we chose the best of those. We chose aggressively. We've got 210 presentations now, and 90% of them have been pre-recorded. The others will get to you a little bit later, but over the next couple of days, you'll hear, you've already heard a dozen yesterday and another 180 today and tomorrow. So much to be thankful for, Yadin. Any comments before we give Robert and Krishnan the chance to speak?
I'm looking forward for 2 days of exciting knowledge sharing, of education, and new way of doing networking in the world of COVID. And with that, I'll pass the mic to Robert.
Don't leave me up here alone. You're going to stay, right? So we could chat.
It would be a pleasure.
We're so delighted to have you and Tom and the whole team and IFMBE, CED, and GCA here at AMI. So thank you for the collaboration and for coming to our AMI home here and giving me a moment to speak to the audience. So for those of you that don't know, AMI goes by many names. We are the Association for the Advancement of Medical Instrumentation, kind of a long name. So you will also hear us referred to as AAMI, or more friendly, AMI, exactly, the world famous green mug there. So as the folks in this room know, and I'm privileged to be in the room with many of the folks who actually started AMI or were involved very early on, and I know many of you are online as well. So I'm preaching to the choir, to use the American saying, in many cases here. But for those of you who don't know AMI, I'd like to give a little background on who we are and what we do. And we're excited about this collaboration because our missions are the same. And AMI's mission is to promote the safe and effective use of healthcare technology globally. So one of the primary mechanisms that we use to do that is that we are a standards developing organization. We are the worldwide leader in convening medical device manufacturers, clinical engineers, other clinical professionals, sterilization professionals, certainly, in the development of consensus standards around the medical device industry. And we maintain many hundreds of committees for that purpose. And those standards generally work their way through and become ISO standards, international standards, et cetera. So, and to do that, we have 10,000, this is going to be a big thing that comes out soon. We have 10,000 members now. So for those of you that started AIME 50 plus years ago, or were there soon after, because you're all only 50, we just heard that. So we're now 10,000. So that's pretty amazing. And it's those 10,000 individuals that develop the standards, and they're also help us with the other part of supporting our mission, which is a consensus standard is good only to the degree that it's adopted and applied and that people understand how to use it. So that's actually my function. I'm the Senior Vice President of Education at AIME. I have responsibility for our events, our certifications, and our training programs. But we have other individuals that are responsible for publications and all of the information that's put out on our website. So in addition to developing those standards, our volunteers and members help us get those standards adopted globally, get those standards applied, et cetera. So I would invite everyone watching around the world to come to our website, aami.org, and find out how to get involved. And specifically for our clinical engineering community, we coined a phrase here. We may have stolen it from somewhere else, they coined a phrase, but we have started using the label healthcare technology management and HTM to really address not only clinical engineering, but technicians and all the many folks that are involved in maintaining and supporting medical devices. So when you come to the AIME website at aami.org, look for the HTM section of the website. That will be of special interest to you if you're in clinical engineering. But of course, check out the standards area, figure out how to get involved, and you can become an AIME member as an individual, or institutions can become AIME members and designate membership on their employees or staff. So if you have any questions at all, there's contact information on the website, and we really look forward to the next collaboration, whatever that might be, with both IFMBE, CDD, and with GCEA. So Udine, unless you think there's something I didn't cover, I'll give it back to Tom.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, Tom.
It's good to have people coming and going in our living room, or family room, I'm sorry.
Or sitting.
Another great partner we'd like to give an opportunity to speak is Dr. Shankar Krishnan from IFMBE. Come on up. Now, many of you recognize IFMBE as the parent organization of IFMBE Clinical Engineering Division. So truly our parent and our friend. Thank you.
So he said 40-year-old, so parent must be 30-year-old. You know, we go negative in time. We are working on anti-aging, reversing the aging. Warm welcome to all of you from IFMBE. IFMBE stands for the International Federation for Medical and Biological Engineering. We have over 70 national biomedical engineering societies and transnational biomedical engineering societies. One of them is AAMI, which is AIME. I've been associated with AIME over 30 years myself. You also heard about IFMBE, which is the American Institute for Medical and Biological Engineering, also based here. IEEE, EMBS, Engineering and Medical Biology Society, ACC, IAMBS, these are all members. We have 4 regions, region North America, Europe, and Africa. Africa is growing. We want to maybe make a separate region, Latin America, and also Asian Pacific region. I had the pleasure of attending the Congress in Sao Paulo earlier. It was great. Then there was one in Rome. It was fantastic. I remember sitting in the hall talking to the AIME representatives, our great friends, Yadin and Tom, when they announced it was going to be, I think the original decision was going to be in Washington.
Right.
And this is how it happens, man proposes and it goes from Washington to Florida, and we are here. We are virtual. I also learned a new term of virtual hug. So we virtually hug all of you. We are really delighted. There are many representatives in clinical engineering, all over the world. I had really the pleasure of listening to the input from several. There are some societies who are not members, but we encourage you to become members of IFMBE. We have two divisions, clinical engineering division under the able leadership of Tom Judd, and actually Dean, I must mention his name, when clinical engineering was going through not so great prominence, Yadin gave a big boost. We are talking about booster shots. So he gave a boost. And it is, I myself worked at Mass General Hospital. I've been in clinical engineering in 3 countries. So I'm aware of the importance of clinical engineering. They work in hospitals, but they're also needed everywhere. They're needed in manufacturing, they're needed in R&D, they're needed in regulatory affairs, they're needed in installation, training, the entire life cycle. So it's really very important role that clinical engineers play. So I had the opportunity to listen to input from various persons. I just looked at 2 numbers. One is the number of people who have been tested positive. It is unbelievable. It is going to reach like 250 million. It's 250 million. Can anybody imagine this number? And the number of deaths is going to approach 5 million. And I think our friend Yadin made an excellent phrase, silent heroes. I think clinical engineers are silent heroes. We are just behind the scene. But imagine without clinical engineers, how can ICUs work? We talk so much about ventilators, but clinical engineers are needed there. So I think it is very important. Many of you have faced a lot of challenges, but challenges also gives rise to innovation, new ideas. And this is how we are going to be helping solving the problems. We need to understand, we need to work together. There was also some problem brought up about education. I think we need to work on that area, cybersecurity, digital health, interoperability, getting identity. I think we get the right people, the policymakers. And as Yadin mentioned, it's already recognized, maybe under different terms, but I see even in this room, people from clinical engineering have gone up to hospital administration. So people can be made aware of this. When I was teaching biomedical engineering like 30 years ago in Illinois, we had to give a talk about what is biomedical and what is clinical engineering to the hospital administrators. Okay, so we need to be not shy, but we need to tell them what we do, what are the importance. Resources are very important. We need to be asking for resources for the equipment, for calibration, testing, training, and work together with doctors, nurses, and everybody in the healthcare delivery domain. Okay. These challenges make us really feel very important, and we are doing something very good for the entire community. Our work is not over. It will continue on forever. Okay. So let's all cooperate, collaborate, and contribute and towards better health. That's what we are working for. Thanks, Tom, for inviting me. Thanks, Yadin. Thanks, Robert, for hosting. I think this is an excellent Congress. I'm sure you will enjoy a lot, learn a lot, network. I think that is important. And, he said, one brother, we are all brothers and sisters. We are the global community of clinical engineers. So I extend you a warm welcome to this fantastic conference. Enjoy, and let's serve the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Come on back to the family room, brother. So our keynote speaker is working out the connections as we speak right now. And so, we love those real-time communications. So that's why Tom was on his phone when the good doctor was speaking, helping make sure that connection happens. And Dr. Krishnan, who leads IFMBE, this great organization around the world of biomedical engineers, will also speak this afternoon. He has a segment. And while I'm on that topic, let me just briefly note what the schedule for the day is. After this opening program that includes the keynote from Adriana Velasquez of WHO here in a few minutes, will end just before 9 here, East Coast US time, New York time. And then at 9, we start 3 different tracks of about 9 or 10 presentations each. And so you'll choose whether do you want health technology assessment or systems management or health technology management in that first hour when you go back to the lobby as this section ends. And then each of those sessions, and then there's 2 more 3-track programs throughout the day. So from 9 to 11:30 is the first of those. The way those sessions will work is that you'll enter that room as a participant, or maybe you or one of the faculty members, one of the presenters, but there will be a brief introduction. We will go to a pre-recording of a presentation. That'll be about 10 or 10 and a half minutes into the 15-minute segment. And then there'll be about 4 minutes or so of question and answers. Questions will come in through the chat and so on. But then we'll go to the second 15-minute segment, a brief introduction, then another 10-minute pre-recording, followed by another 4 or so minutes of Q&A. So that's how we'll process through each of those channels. Those of you that have registered and online now and get to the lobby and can choose and go back and forth, it's up to you. At 11:30, all of those sessions will have ended, the first round of them, and we'll go to the sponsors time, and there'll be just under 30-minute time first for R0, one of our great sponsors that I mentioned before. And we're looking forward to hearing from Grant Morgan, the CEO, who's here with us in Washington, D.C., joining from 11:30 to 12. And then we start that second round of 3 tracks at 12 until 2:30. And then Miss Heidi West, who leads Zoom for Healthcare, who's also in the room with us here. And we're delighted to hear from her from 2:30 to 3. From 3 to 5:30, there will be a third round for today of the track sessions. We'll let you take a breather after that for a few minutes, but at 5:45 until 7, we'll have our closing program for today. And let me mention it because it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. The first part will be awards. We have 12 different key topics in clinical engineering that we put on in our Rome Congress 2 years ago and had a round of winners for the best paper in the topic. And this year we'll do that. So we call them the Health Technology Challenge topics, the HT Challenge. And so we'll have awards for each of those categories, but we also have several, undergraduate, graduate students that are a part of this program. Yadin, can you believe it? We've got 23-year-olds presenting and we've got 98-year-olds presenting.
Wow. That is amazing. That's amazing.
So we'll give awards for students and the Challenge Award winners. We'll give Dr. Christian a chance to tell us about the world of biomedical engineering, education, and then a keynote from our colleague, Dr. Jim Weir. Why don't you talk about that for a moment?
We have to pay attention how we talk to the world. So one thing, Tom, is that you want to tell them when you say 11:30 to 12 and so on, that it is local time. So you'll need to do your calculation and conversion. It might be tomorrow in China, maybe, and just make sure that they all can relate to that and show up at the right room at the right time. As far as the keynote that is closing the day today, it's going to be Dr. James Weir, who for the past 30 years was involved in professional development and within the VA system and then within the profession, and worked very diligently on bringing up the concept of credentialing and the certification program to clinical engineers. And he's going to be giving state-of-the-art messages where we are around the world with clinical engineering credentialing and where he believes that we need to go next.
Yadin, I'm happy to say that Ms. Velasquez will be joining us here in just a moment. We're connected with her, but let me tell you a quick story that involves my brother here and I. So March of 2020, things had begun to go bad around the world with the pandemic. Everybody appropriately looks to the World Health Organization for assistance, and WHO has done a great job the last couple of years, not to mention before, and will do going into the future. But they were being overwhelmed, or the medical device unit at WHO was really being overwhelmed by, cries for help. or here's an idea and a possible innovation that could assist. And so Adriana, who is amazing, period, but she needed some help. And so she said, I know I'm going to go to the clinical engineers of the global community of clinical engineers, and they can help me make a difference in all these medical device areas. And so one afternoon in late March, Yadin, she called us. What happened?
So Adriana Berumen Velasquez called up and say, as you know, there is a major crisis like we never experienced before in the past 100 years. It's involved life and death scenarios. It's involved ability to bring medical technology, isolated patient care spaces overnight to remote and low resource places around the world. And can you help? And one of the positive news was that the WHO organization received dozens of innovations in medical technology, how to overcome the challenges, specifically in low resource setting. And they asked us to see if we can help the team to evaluate and assess which one of those innovations can practically turn into a local production, can practically help patient right now and right there, can practically be used safe in different setting, different languages, and can be maintained and supported locally. And Tom and I got together, and with the heads of IFMBE and Global Clinical Engineering Alliance, we got the network mobilized. We put together 100 on the ground feet of clinical engineers in the point of care in developing countries, and run the assessment. We developed the methodology and came back to WHO with new ranking that use signs, graphic, and colors to assess where in our observation and assessment the innovation will serve, if it will serve at all. Some got the red light, don't go there, not safe. Some got the orange, get ready, but not yet. Some got the green, let's rush with that. It's a great solution to the challenge. So we delivered tremendous support, and actually a book that is available on the WHO website that we crafted.
So what we're going to do is end this session now, and you can go back to the lobby and then immediately join Adriana's keynote. She's beginning now. So that's what we'll do. See you there.
We appreciate everybody being there. I'm looking forward to hug you and teach, and let's grow together. Thank you.
Thanks. So we'll end this session now.